Legends are almost never singular in their existence. Tales of gods are especially known for being altered and passed on between different cultures across history. For instance, two separate deities from different sides of the earth may have both derived from a common origin. A similar phenomena can be seen for Ashtart, better known by her Greek name Astarte. In Semitic myth, she is a goddess of love and war. More specifically, she is worshipped as a fertility goddess, attributed to the planet Venus. In form, she is depicted as a naked archer with bull horns, standing proudly beside lions. Her aspects of war and love come from Venus being the morning and evening stars. Thus, she is a woman worshipped through both sexual rites and heroic conquests. In this vein, in the Ugartic Baal cycle, Ashtart is mentioned in tandem with the warrior goddess Anat. The two attempt to restrain the young god Baal from overthrowing the river god Yam. Their efforts fail, as Baal ultimately captures and murders Yam, incurring Ashtart's wrath. She scolds him, cursing him with his true name and the source of his power. This concept of gods having hidden names is echoed in legends involving Lilith and Jehovah, as well as Isis and Ra. Ashtart is also known to be the equivalent of Aphrodite, Isis, Hathor, Artemis, Juno, and other goddesses of fertility. In some legends, Ashtart goes by the name Ashtoreth and is worshipped alongside Baal as his consort. The great King Solomon once endorsed the worshipping of Ashtart in order to accommodate the different religions of his various wives. By building a sanctuary to her in Jerusalem, Solomon provoked the anger and jealousy of Jehovah, ultimately bringing about his own death. It is nigh impossible to describe Ashtart through a single narrative, as versions of her exist under different names unique to the cities she was worshipped in. As if to complicate this even further, Ashtart herself is based upon the Sumerian goddess Iana, worshipped by the Babylonians as Ishtar. In some cities, the names Ashtart and Ishtar are effectively interchangeable. Inherited through this connection is the idea that Ashtart and Ishtar are evil, or at the very least contain an evil aspect, as the name Astaroth refers to a demon. As gods are the product of human worship, even misconceptions such as this can greatly influence them. Thus far, all of this applies to the world of proper human history, and if no other alternatives existed, our story would end here. However, accounting for other realities, we cannot forget the servantverse, a separate universe in which heroic spirits exist independently from their human masters. Originally, the servantverse began with what is called the Origin Universe, a time in which the galaxy was truly inhabited by humans. During this time, prehistoric civilizations worshipped the goddess Ishtar Ashtart. Much like our own world, the two names were interchangeable. Their devotion differed from contemporary ideas of faith, instead describing the people's adoration for the celestial sectors they lived in. Rather than envisioning a divine presence, it was the entire area of space that was revered. In that sense, Ishtar Ashtart was an entire galaxy, empowered through worship, which legends describe as the primordial goddess. During the universe update, the servantverse went through a major shift, causing the humans to vanish, filling the interstellar medium with ether energy that allowed servants to live without masters, reincarnating upon death. Space became known as the Shining Blue Galaxy, and the Origin Universe fell into obscurity, treated as a forbidden zone. Since then, the primordial goddess's existence became a myth with very few records to her name. The Galactic Police, however, acknowledged the goddess as a genuine threat and hoped to defeat her. 2,000 years before the modern servantverse, the police sent an elite team of servants to attack her. Among them was the sharpshooter, Calamity Jane, whose noble phantasm could reveal enemy weaknesses. Thanks to this ability, the police claimed victory over the goddess, or so they thought. Considering the primordial goddess truly is the entirety of the Origin Universe, what Jane and her team killed was only the goddess's heart. The goddess's spirit origin merely wound up split, laying dormant until they could be revived once again. Jane's victory came at a cost, a curse granting her immortality. As such, she remained alive across those 2,000 years, persevering through her innate cheerfulness. Tokiomi, one of the 7 remaining masters in the servantverse, works as an eccentric scholar for the Space Clock Tower. While a master, he mainly spends his time as an archaeologist, scavenging the ruins of ancient civilizations. Believing in the legends about the primordial goddess, he travels the servantverse in search of clues. His efforts bear fruit when he comes across the spiritual core of the primordial goddess, validating his research. This core, split into two pieces, separates the goddess's good and evil components. Rather than sealing away these two aspects eternally, Professor Tokiomi decides it will be best to raise one of them as his own daughter. The idea is to allow the goddess to live as an ordinary person, experiencing the happiness of the shining blue galaxy, but realistically, he can only commit to raising one of the two. Naturally, his first instinct is to awaken the goddess's good half, as someone of her alignment will surely be welcomed and loved by all. It is for this exact reason, however, that he decides to instead choose the evil half, believing that a proper, nurturing environment will allow her to avoid the trappings of evil. Thus, Tokiomi adopts the goddess's evil aspect, keeping her good half sealed away. She is named Ishtar, though her father lovingly calls her Reen. Calamity Jane, still alive after all this time, decides to serve as Tokiomi's guide and scout, in part to keep an eye on Ishtar. To protect the servantverse, Jane plans to kill Ishtar in the event that she succumbs to evil. Luckily, just as Tokiomi had hoped, Ishtar grows up to be a proper young lady with a knack for justice and adventure. While her father is away conducting fieldwork across the galaxy, Ishtar attends the Queen's Academy, a prestigious school for aristocratic women on the planet Zenjo. While some might see this school as dainty, Ishtar instead learns discipline and strength there, in no small part due to her teacher, Miss Jaguar. Though not especially brilliant in traditional education, she makes a name for herself as the class representative and through extracurricular activities. This success is accelerated by her rivalry with the divine servant Astrea. Ishtar enjoys her youth here, working hard to become a proper lady. Tokiomi intends to tell Ishtar about her true identity as a goddess on her 14th birthday, but before that day comes to pass, he finds himself in danger. A wicked organization, the Space Shinkagiryu, hopes to awaken the Origin universe and have it obliterate the current world. Its leader, the Warrior of Darkness, Munenori, requires the goddess's spirit core so that he can offer it to the goddess's shrine, Belmana. On Ishtar's birthday, Munenori attacks Tokiomi's home, killing the professor and stealing the goddess's sealed good half. When Ishtar arrives home that day, she finds her father bleeding and on his final breaths. Devastated, she decides to drop out of school and travel the universe as a bounty hunter under Jane's recommendation. For the next 10 years, Ishtar and Jane make a name for themselves collecting bounties and piloting the ship Mana, which Ishtar and Tokiomi had built together. As it's in her nature, Ishtar is quite stingy, loving to collect precious jewels, even though they can be used as fuel for her ship. While Jane is comedic and carefree, Ishtar acts as a straight man. During this same time period, Munenori awakens the goddess's good half, and ironically, raises her to be evil. The girl is indoctrinated into being a villain named Ashtart, and after mastering Munenori's sword techniques, she takes over as the head of the Shinkagiryu. Because of her upbringing, Ashtart believes herself to be an evil being, and when she is told the truth about the primordial goddess, she assumes she is the goddess's evil half. In this regard, she gets the false impression that she will always be an enemy to the servantverse, and aids Munenori in his quest to resurrect the goddess. To do so, she is told she needs the cooperation of a master. At this time, however, masters are all but extinct. So she instead uses the abilities of her fortress, the Dark Mana, to warp to another universe altogether. Specifically, she travels to the universe of proper human history. This world still has a master, a peculiar mage named Ritsuka Fujimaru. Because Ritsuka closely interacts with the Ishtar of proper history, they aren't at all fazed when Ashtart comes to abduct them. Thus, Ritsuka is brought to the servantverse and imprisoned by Ashtart to be used as a sacrifice in reviving the primordial goddess. Despite being held captive, Ashtart keeps Ritsuka in a guest room instead of the ship's dungeon. For someone raised as a villain, she is surprisingly considerate. Sadly, she doesn't understand that the guest room is actually an escape pod Munenori had built to look like an ordinary room. As such, when she tries to interface with the room from the ship's terminal, she accidentally ejects it just before warping to the Origin universe. Unable to simply turn back and fetch Ritsuka, Ashtart is left with no choice but to rely on the Shinkagiryu's elite 6 blades to recapture the missing master. Ritsuka's pod lands on the desert planet of Texas Beyond, or rather, it explodes upon entry, leaving the master plummeting to the ground without a parachute. Thankfully, Ritsuka has a friend in the servantverse, mysterious Heroine X, who happens to be nearby. Using the rest of her bike's fuel, X rescues Ritsuka, and the two start traveling together. With wanted posters scattered across the galaxy, however, it's not long before Ritsuka becomes a target for various bounty hunters and thugs wanting to claim a reward. At a nearby diner, the two are attacked by a gang known as the Mohawks. Here, they fatefully encounter Ishtar and Jane, and the four agree to team up against the Mohawks, splitting the reward for turning them into the police. Even though Ritsuka has a bounty on their head, Ishtar sympathizes with them, as she too has been a victim of the space Shinkagiryu. In fact, Ishtar is hoping to take down the Six Blades so that she can avenge the death of her father. Ritsuka also needs to confront Shinkagiryu for a chance at finding a way home. With their goals aligned, Ritsuka, X, Ishtar, and Jane set out to defeat and interrogate the Blades, starting with Billy the Flash, leader of the Mohawks. Despite wielding a revolver, Billy and other servants are able to change their class through the use of saber badges, another of Shinkagiryu's plans to rule the world through capitalism. At first, Ishtar is disappointed to find out that masters like Ritsuka, who are legendary to her, are in actuality weak and defenseless. When she nearly loses to Billy's quick-draw Noble Phantasm, however, she is saved by the power of Ritsuka's command spells. The two realize that, together, they can take on just about anyone. Ishtar's Noble Phantasm is Edin Shugura Quasar, an invasive attack that incinerates all in its wake. She doesn't fully understand this power, unaware of her origin as a goddess. Even so, it manifests through the legend of the Shugura, a crown given to Ishtar upon entering the grasslands of Edin in Sumerian mythology. Through her ancient shrine Bel Mana, she unleashes the full might of the Origin universe. With enough Artorium to fuel their ship, Ritsuka's group makes their way toward the Forbidden Zone. Their journey takes them through the frozen gas giant Big Blue Tank, the cat-infested Sargasso Abyss, Ishtar's own planet Zenjo, and even a diner at the edge of the universe. At each stop, they thwart Shinkagiryu's evil schemes until they can finally attack the Dark Mana itself. There, Ishtar learns the truth, and how she and Ashtart are two parts of a single whole. While Ishtar and Ritsuka fight against Ashtart, mysterious Heroine X goes to the fortress's engine room and destroys it with a strike from her secret caliber. She nearly loses her life in a duel with Sigurd, but is saved by the ghostly presence of her rival, mysterious Heroine X Alter. As the Dark Mana collapses, Munenori shows his true colors, injuring Ashtart and taking her to the man-made shrine at the Origin universe. By offering her as a sacrifice, he can still reawaken the primordial goddess. In a truly epic duel, Ishtar strikes him down, avenging her father in the process, but it is too late to stop the resurrection. Despite being the goddess's heart, both Ishtar and Ashtart wind up opposing her attempt to eradicate the shining blue galaxy. After all, Ashtart hoped to rule the galaxy, not destroy it. Even so, the primordial goddess no longer needs her spirit origin, and claims that she can simply make another. As the goddess fires volleys of light at the party, Ashtart plans on dying to protect everyone. After all, there's no way they can fight an enemy the size of an entire universe. As the evil half, she claims it is only fitting, as she can't cooperate with people anyway. Knowing the full truth, however, Ritsuka tells her she is actually the good half, and that even as the evil half, Ishtar has grown up on the side of justice. The two halves reconcile and allow themselves to combine, forming a new universe of their own. With attacks the size of galaxies, Ishtar Ashtart actually manages to fight back against the primordial goddess, and with the help of Jane's Noble Phantasm, they defeat the goddess by striking her with a colossal bullet of energy. The goddess grows cold and disappears, but a final threat still remains. The shrine, Bel Mana, begins to fall toward Ishtar's ship, braced to kill the party. Mysterious Heroine X, however, after surviving the Dark Mana, emerges to obliterate the shrine with a newfound saber ninja art, Galactic Meteor Sword XEX. Peace is finally restored to the servantverse. Ishtar, still merged with Ashtart, is willing to expend all of her goddess power to create a path for Ritsuka to return to proper human history. It's a tragic farewell, but everyone parts with the promise of meeting again. The residual ether sent with Ritsuka allows Chaldea to summon an incarnation of this Ishtar to protect the human order, but that promise still remains with the original. It is speculated that, once Chaldea has definitively saved the world, Ishtar will once again reach out to Ritsuka, sending her mana to pick the Master up for yet another adventure in a galaxy far, far away. Thanks for watching!
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or our YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like exclusive vids and early access.
As always,
Celebrate your fandom!